Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching, a St. Louis City SC podcast. Justin Graham, Jake Koenig on the mics here for a recap of our draw 0-0 with LAFC, number 2, now 3 in the Western Conference. Quite a night it was. A nice Wednesday, a fall Wednesday here in St. Louis. And not the most exciting game, I would say, Justin, but one you'll look back on. And if you said we were going to draw LAFC at City Park in September, when we were about to start this season, this campaign, our first ever season for St. Louis City SC in February, I probably would have said we'll take that. So ultimately not much you can be mad about when you especially kind of go big picture on this. But initial reactions, Justin, how did you feel following that match?
I felt a little let down, but then looking back on it, like you said, I think getting a point there was still huge. They definitely could have scored off the one chance that they had off the outside of the post. But the biggest thing is not letting up a goal. I saw a lot of people come and give us their thoughts afterwards, and it was true. I forgot who said it, but basically we were fixing some problems that we have had, and like not giving up a goal to Dennis Bouanga, Carlos Vela, and these other guys. I think it was pretty impressive by the back line. We created some chances. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy in some of those, so we'll talk about that here in a bit. But overall, it wasn't an awful game. I wish we could have stuck out with 3 points. I felt so confident at home. I don't know how it was 0-0 with how high it was juiced for the over 2.5 and all of our bets, but you know what? It was still a great night at City Park, and I think we're doing just fine.
Yeah, so one word summary for me. I'm going to go on this one. Just considering everything that happened last night, even after the game with us clinching, which we're going to talk about, is anticlimactic. I wish we would have won and beat LAFC, and I'm really, really excited. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like most probably City fans out there, we've been a little spoiled, man. I mean, if you'd have told us we're going to qualify for the playoffs, like mathematically qualify for the playoffs with 4 games in hand, I told you you're crazy. You and I were just saying, let's just push, and see if we can squeeze in there because it wasn't looking likely, at least from the beginning or the onset of the season compared to what other teams are spending and putting out there. So it felt a little anticlimactic, but I do think it's because we generally just been spoiled all season with these results and just having a dream. This has been nothing short of a dream.
Yeah, it was definitely anticlimactic because I really wanted that revenge game. Not thinking that we would get the tiebreaker with them. Like they beat us 3-0. We would have had to beat them 3-0 plus or 4-0, whatever that additional tiebreaker would have been. I didn't expect that, but I would have liked to even the series throughout the regular season. So now if we end up eventually possibly meeting them in the playoffs, now it's like, oh, we've lost to them twice this year. It looks a little worse. But my one word summary is just stingy. I thought the whole game was very it didn't feel like it was all there. I think there was a lot of stoppages, and I thought that we didn't really finish any of our good chances, obviously. And I don't know. I felt like it was a lot of midfield play and it didn't live up to my expectations. So
yeah,
all I have is stingy.
Yeah, I think stingy for me works because I just feel like neither team wanted to lose that game. That was more important than winning, I think, that game for either team. But Let's get into it, Justin. Highlights. I think we had a heck of a start, flying out of the gates. In the 4th and 5th minute, we have highlights here about Leuven just absolutely letting it rip from the top of the 18. I think he had 2 or 3 shots on goal in the first 10, 15 minutes of this game. Guess who took that prop bet? We were talking about this last night. That cashed very, very early on for your boy here. And then Watts getting to the end line, getting down and cutting across and whipping in a great ball. I think we overlook sometimes. Akil Watts has some good service. He's capable of getting to the byline if given the chance. I don't think that's what Carnell was wanting him to do as much last night, and we'll talk about that here. But he did get to the end line and had a great, great cross in for Sam and Joao, who were both just trying to crash into the box, see if they can get ahead or any body part on this. But I think overall, hell of a start from the team to really have some urgency heading into this game.
Yeah, we talked about it after the game as well. I thought we had a great start in the first 20 minutes, which additionally with that, Leuven had another ripper in the 9th off its left, just outside of the 18, put that on goal. I would say defensively, one thing that we saw that Blum actually did show out a little bit more there. And in the 10th minute, he bodied Dennis Bouanga off the ball at the top of the 18. I feel like he did a good job of really getting stuck in. And then just generally in the first 20 minutes, I have a note here that I thought Roman Burke, and it continued throughout the game. He was so quick off his line. Like the amount of chances that he just absolutely negated just by coming up his line and picking up the ball before Dennis or anybody could get onto it was incredible. I love seeing him. And we talk about him as like that sweeper keeper, but he's also decisive in those moments. He didn't get caught in the no man's land like he possibly did during Austin in that first game with some great touches. He was off the line, making some sliding tackles himself or picking up the ball. It was just great to see it from him.
Yeah, what you're bringing up with Berkey too is a broader theme in the game of soccer. I feel like right now you're seeing the evolution of the goalkeeper, where being a great shot stopper just isn't good enough anymore. You need to have that, or not every team plays the same way, but a lot of teams want you to have both that and some solid footwork in your lockers, so you can not just be the last line of defense, but the starting line of the attack. And we saw him last night contribute to a grade A chance, one of our best chances of the night, getting numbers up and just hitting Gioacchini on a rope from his own box. It shows you that footwork is getting as equally as important for solid goalkeeping. Tim Kelly, we talked to him before. He's a big believer in that. He would push me to my limit. I was not a goalie that had that, and it's becoming so important. And I'm not saying Berkey is known for that, and even in his European days, but here in the MLS, he's got one of the best feet, probably the best feet of any goalkeeper out there. So we are so lucky to have him. And just last night, you could see it. I think most of his play was with his feet last night.
And he was the man of the match, not only for his saves, which we'll also touch on these highlights. That Chiellini bike. I mean, that save, it looked incredible from us. It wasn't a difficult save, but it was just cool to see a bike from him and a Rome diving save. So another highlight real quick. I thought Akil watched it pretty well at right back, and he made it difficult for Bonega. I feel like coming at him defensively, it's hard to just defend that guy, but Akil did get up and down and made him kind of had Bonega waste some energy, I guess, getting back on that as well. So I think it made it a little hard on him. And then another highlight that I had in the 29th minute, LAFC had a counter. Tim just trucking back and it makes a good slide tackle and clear with his left before it's an absolute through ball as well for them. So that would have been a one-on-one save that Rome would have had to make, but Tim was there to save the day.
Yeah, Tim and the back line. I think the back line was our highlight last night for me. It was a clean sheet. We forget that's a clean sheet. That still counts. Do you disagree? I think our back line was my favorite part of our team last night. I think they were challenged. Bouanga, I mean, every time he was in the ball, I legitimately thought they were going to score. Like he is so dangerous. He just gets on the ball and you're like, oh God, like just the way he moves, he just picks up 0 to 100 in a millisecond. I don't know how people keep up.
No, I agree with you. I was laughing at myself for saying Bonega so much. I don't know why. I
called him Dennis.
Dennis Boenga. We're just going with that. I don't know how I got stuck on that for the last 2 minutes.
But no, you make a good call. I think Parker had some great sliding challenges last night, some great last-ditch tackles. We saw Nilsson just putting his body on the line and just getting pummeled at every turn. We had some good counters. We found our success last night through our bread and butter, our transitions, our counterattacks, because otherwise LAFC kind of sat back a little bit and let us possess and try to break them down, which we don't do a great job of historically. We had Markovic, seeing a lot of him last night, having some great footwork, getting the ball up to AZ, who we couldn't find too much last night. But AZ, in the moments that he had, I thought was okay. He megged the defender. Oh, this is Markovic. Yeah, Markovic megged the defender. I mean, shows you the quality of a left back. He's got some great footwork. And again, I go back to the goalkeeper point. Even defenders now, you're expecting these guys to be solid ball players. If they want to step up the field and generate chances and score, they should have that capability. And he's got it in him. He's definitely got it in him. And last night was a flash of that. He was taken down. No call on that one.
So when he played that up to AZ, nice little touchback. Both those guys are very skilled with their feet. Quick Meg gets another touch right before. It was hard to tell from our angle way down on the other end if he actually got clipped or not. Went down. We thought it might be a PK. You were saying basically it's either a dive or a PK, which I agree with. So no call there. But we kind of felt that was in the 43rd. We could feel the energy building after the 20 minutes before that. We're pretty quiet. And we'll talk about the lowlights during that time. But at halftime, you and I talked about it and threw that up on the Instagram and the Twitter as well. The Twitter. I don't know how old I am. And the fact that we really needed to see a little bit more out of Joao and Sam because we could not get out of our own half. And that I feel like they were trying to hold the ball up, but their defenders were then clamping down on them and taking the ball. And I did see us kind of flip that very quickly on in the second half. So in the 46, we had an early service into it, Dinneran, but just has it just over. Another great run from him 4 minutes later and turn a kick around the guy and beat him, which we saw a couple times, which you think teams could do this, but you even saw Chiellini. He did not want to go out to try to get him because he knows how big and fast Sam actually is.
No, he is. He is a Dinneran. It's just such a different skill set than Klaus. Both of them find success differently. Dinneran is very much an individual type skill set, and that's not a knock on him. He has the ability to just beat guys one-on-one, not with necessarily this best footwork, but he just kicks it around. He baits you in and he kicks the ball, and he'll beat you. He will beat you anywhere he wants to kick that ball. And he generates chances from that, either for himself or for others. So I appreciate him more and more the more I see him. Klaus, I think, relies a little bit more on service and on connection with teammates. And there just wasn't too overly much of that last night. AZ found the game a little bit more in the 53rd minute, had a dangerous cross that was steered out for a corner. We had another great quick counter shortly after that, Adeniran linking up with Leuven, who drove and laid it off for AZ. We just missed that final pass there. It was so frustrating. I feel like that was a story of the night a little bit for us. Berkey had a great save in the 57th minute on that Chiellini bike, like you mentioned. Would have been hilarious, and those two know each other from playing in Europe together. I mean, it's just game respects game there. Klaus cleared that ball on the dribble and took it, super far on the dribble, and found Adeniran, and with a great driven ball, he was in alone, couldn't find the net. I mean, the stands were ready to erupt though, because we literally started like at our own 6-yard box. The big man, Santa Claus, dribbles 40-50 yards, pings it to Adeniran, who has a good first touch, kind of closes a little bit of his own angle, isn't able to have the best opportunity. But that was the nature of our danger last night, was all on transitions and counters like that.
I mean, the place did erupt after that, even though, Adeniran was just trucking after a massive save from Roman Berkey on the bike, which is already exciting. And then, Sam did dribble a little bit too far and cut his own angle down, but he was rolling just absolutely dead after that run, and the crowd just started going nuts. So that was in the 57th. And I felt like that gave us a little bit more life. And then we saw another great one in the 61st, whereas Markinek carrying up the left side, hit a ball across into Klaus, off his chest, lets it bounce once, hits that one-time side volley. Unfortunately, he gets blocked, but he was starting to feel it as well. And then the 74th, you already mentioned it, Berkey's side volley to Nico. Jesus, that ball was on a rope and it almost could have went out of bounds. It was a good 70 yards in the air and just spun right to where Nico needed it to be. I will say, Nico, I don't know if he saw Adeniran cutting back down the middle, but Nico was one-on-one with the defender, did a couple step overs, hits a shot just right at the goalie. I mean, it's just not where we wanted to see it there, because you also had Leuven streaking on the left side, but I don't know if he didn't get his head up or if he thought he could take it, but I really wish he would have laid that off, at least to Sam, if not Leuven on the back post.
That's the knock we have on Nico sometimes, is he finds dangerous positions and he has the quality to finish. It's just sometimes the decision-making is a little bit slow. I feel like he gets caught between two minds of taking it himself or cutting it back or looking for a teammate. And you just get frustrated because that ball, like you said, from Berkey, that ball is illegal in 7 states here. Like it's just, that has no right to exist. It looked CGI on the replay. Like it just didn't look real. But the fact
anybody that thinks that's like, oh, it looks cool, but like go out in your backyard and try to hit a side volley. If that thing doesn't go sky high or straight into the ground, you're doing pretty well. And that man is just putting it on a rope.
Imagine a fly route in the NFL and a quarterback putting it into someone's hands as they're falling over their shoulder. Like, it's just the precision of that. Now do it with your foot. Like, that is incredible. Like, just to make everyone realize this is not like, the highlight looks super cool, but the difficulty behind that is out of this world.
Jake, we should make some kind of like promo video of us trying to go out and do these things.
Yeah, we should.
It's just like how they always say, like in the Olympics, they should have like just an average American running alongside Usain Bolt. That's us. Me trying to do a side.
Let's commit to that.
You probably still have it from the goalie days. I definitely do not have it.
We will recreate. We'll try. I actually would like to do that. That'd be fun. Looking at stats for us, XG last night, I honestly think it tells the story. It's for me, it was 0.77 for us, 0.72 for them. I do think you LAFC fans might disagree with that because they just looked really dangerous, but they were missing that final ball constantly, and that one off the post was just a killer for them. I mean, there was those 2 shots that went back to back. There was that one, and then Buanga skied one shortly after, where you're just like, holy cow, like, hang on to your seats. We might be in for one here. But we actually outpassed LAFC, which is absurd to think about. Not by much, but we did. But that was their game plan. They definitely came in willing to do that for us and give us that. But statistically, it was a really even night to look at these teams. But that is not to say that we should be okay with every element of this performance either. I think there were some definitely negatives we can kind of draw from here.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on stats before we get in the lowlights is I agree for XG on this one, being below 1 on both sides. They definitely had a better chance off the post there, but I feel like we had better individual chances outside of that. Yes, The Chiellini bike was cool, but that XG is not going to be very high. I will say they outshot us 14-12, but we had 4 on target. They only had 2. We both blocked 3 shots. So like you said, it's pretty even. And yes, we did have more possession there, but this is a game where I was actually okay with it. I felt like we relatively worked it side to side. Let's just general low light real quick, Jake, that we talked about. I think we need to be wider. And I will say, I thought Markinick got up the field very well, but I feel like on a keel, he either needs to get up, or when it came to that side on the right side, Indy needs to have his heels on that touch line to create that space for either AZ in the middle or coming to Sam Adeniran to let Indy go long or let Klaus slide in behind. I just feel like if we're going to have possession, we need to have more width. We have the speed to get back if we turn it over, but we just felt very compact in the middle.
That's the problem with playing 2 strikers, though, is when you do that, you're taking wingers out of the play. And I don't think we could have done it last night with that formation we had going for us. Now, if you take a Adeniran off and you put in an Alm if he's healthy, a Stroud, a Celio Pompeu, even you throw Aziel Jackson out wide or Indy Vasiliev out wide, I agree. We need width in attacking areas. They gave us that they filled up the middle block with a ton of midfielders and players, and they weren't going to let us build through the middle, which a lot of teams do that. That's very common. But when they're just giving you the width, you got to use it. And both of our fullbacks, I feel like, were so pinned down last night, especially in that 30 minutes in the middle of the first half. We were just like, where can we go? We have to go long, or we have to wait for a transition moment, because they were suffocating us in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I feel like we were not going to pass through them. So I feel like we did better to hold possession there, but we really didn't break them down by any means. But all right, let's talk specifically on some lowlights. Yes, we will get to the handball. We have a little bit of a specialist. We'll talk about that at the end. So we will mention the handball here. We're not going to gloss over it. At the end, we will cover it a little bit more in depth there. But the first lowlight, I will say, was in the 4th minute. Very quick. They had a cutback that just missed Dennis Bwanga and then just missed the other trailing midfielder. I don't know, and we didn't touch the ball either. I think it might have rolled right over the PK spot. Like, it was an absolute ping, just on the ground cutback. Very lucky there. Another one in the 10th minute. It was a highlight turn low light. Blum wins the hard tackle. He does the hard work there, but then he tries to dribble a little bit too much out of this with the pressure. You just got to find the guy and just dish it out to Indy, dish it up to Klaus. If you're getting a little nervous, dish it back to Berkey. Don't try to dribble out of it in our own 30. He coughs it up at the 18 there, leading to a chance for LAFC as well.
And in the 12th minute, they had the VAR handball, which we'll talk about separately here. But in the midst of all of this, they overturn it. Leuven's on his knees, tying his shoe, and they restart play. And they just dribble right by him, and he can't catch up. I mean, I'm not going to get mad at Leuven because he does so many other things, but it's like, kind of got to be a little more aware of that, because they drove the ball all the way down the field, and it led to a chance. Parker had to put in a last-ditch tackle in the inside the 18, all off a restart that Leuven just wasn't ready in position for.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he was waiting to tie his shoe, thinking he was going to hit that PK, and he was going to use that to – no, I'm serious, to, like, collect himself. Like, they were holding on to the ball. Like, if they give a PK, you don't want to step up and just smack it. He was probably going to tie his shoe, breathe, but then it's like, oh, no PK, still got to tie my shoe.
Good take. I mean, the first half was just every attack looked the exact same for LAFC. They were getting inside way too easily on some of our fullbacks, curling the ball in either for crosses or shots. Obviously, one went off the post. They skied a couple over. There was a moment in the 29-2, AZ just got dusted on a corner kick, a short corner, and they were able to dribble into the box and fire off a dangerous cross that Berkey got a hand to. Thank God he parried it out. First half overall, for me, we were so predictable, which was a low light in our offense. We did the same thing every time. We only could do transition, really, or long balls. We had no width in our attack. You already talked about that, Justin. Blum as the lone pivot wasn't really working for me. Leuven was too deep forward. That he couldn't really find much of the ball. We couldn't locate him in our buildup. And LAFC were just crushing us on these counterattacks. How they didn't get a goal last night with how much danger, everything but that final shot was there for them. Like, I cannot. If you'd have told me I watched that whole game and they just cut to black every single time a shot was put on, I just said we probably lost that half like 3-0, 4-0, because like they just looked so dangerous.
Well, I'll also say I really do think that a ton of that is credit to Berkey. Even with the amount of times they couldn't even get a shot off because of how quick he was off his line and ready to come. And I also, we'll get to player rating specifically, but that him with Nilsson and Parker, that little triangle right there, did an incredible job last night, in my opinion. But I'll take us through the rest of the lowlights real quick here. Bouanga was pretty much, I mean, watching him live is completely different than watching him on TV. Watching him attack Akil Watts, I mean, there's nothing Akil could really do. The man's coming at you, hyper speed, cut left, cut right, rips a shot. So struggling to keep up there. 66, another possible handball that was not called, not reviewed. We'll touch on that specifically in our handball talk as well. 77th was a foul by Tim Parker, kind of towards the corner of the box. I am shocked it wasn't a yellow. I think that but he's a big guy. He's one of those guys like, the ball or the man's getting by me, but not both. So I was kind of okay with them taking that, not getting the yellow. I will say anything after the 80th minute, you're like, yeah, take this down. Giveaways, we're absolutely killing our attack and letting the air out of the game as well. Our giveaways, we'd build up some momentum, the crowd get into it, we'd give it away. And it would just take that much time. Then they'd boot it down the field, and it's a restart for us. And then the 90th +2, Ostruck had a yellow to end a counterattack, but still in a dangerous spot. So it's one of those things where I'm happy that we're not trying to give up the L there, but also letting in a dangerous free kick towards the end is always scary.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Justin, before we go into the handball talk here, let's talk about the pod and our sponsors. I'll talk about the pod. So, hey, if you're here on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, go down, hit that like button, subscribe to the show, follow the show. If you're on your podcast domain of choice, make sure you're in the know whenever we publish these episodes. We're in the middle of the week. We already got a couple more episodes ready to go here, or we have to make here coming up here shortly. And if you're wanting to watch us in video form, I mean, why not? Jump on YouTube, throw us a like, throw us a subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell us what you're thinking about, what you thought about the game, and what you think we should talk about in the preview for Minnesota coming up here.
I got a nice dad joke, Jake. I mean, LAFC is using their hands. Use your hands. Hit that like button. Smash it. Absolutely smash it. And I will say, use your hands to go to souljuice.com. You can get 20% off using the code BALLWATCHING. I will say also, Luis just got into Sam's in Wentzville. So anybody that's around that area, you can go to Sam's and get it now as well as Deerberg's across the St. Louis area. So you can get that all there. And then, I mean, the pitch was packed last night. We talked to the waiters and waitresses, like, they didn't expect it to be that packed on a Wednesday. Like, oh, it's a home city game. It's been, what you're talking about, Jake, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks since we've been to the park for a city game. So if you weren't there, get there. They also said they had an incredible job and an incredible time on Sunday. The doors were open. The air was open. Football was everywhere. College football this weekend. Get there Saturday for the Mizzou game. I'm going to be doing a little tailgating there, then walking over to the Dome, having a great game versus Memphis. And then I'll be back there on Sunday for NFL Sunday as well. So get to the pitch.
Fire it up. And I'm telling you, last night, this City Park was fired up over some handball controversy. And what better thing to get fired up on than with a referee? So we are not experts or rules analysts in this game. So we went to our Dr. Joe Makinick, if you're looking at Fox Sports for reference, but they always point to these folks, or I'm trying to think, it was Mark. There's a FIFA referee that they always call on for the PL too, like a rules analyst and expert. But we have one local here in St. Louis. His name is George Gansner, and he is a retired referee, but he was inducted in the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame in 2019, refereed in the MLS for just about 20 years. And also served as a FIFA assistant referee at that time. He worked at the CONCACAF Gold Cup, some Youth World Cups, World Cup qualifiers. He even, fun fact, was the linesman during the Man City-Chelsea game at Busch Stadium, which is super dope. But right now, he obviously has his own day job, but he continues to mentor young referees and do things like this for situations and give his take. So we shot him a text to kind of get his opinion on how things transpired last night. And we're going to get him on here as well to put him on the hot seat and help us just rectify or just rationalize what's going on. I will say, disclaimer, George actually agrees with how it was handled last night and thinks that the referee last night and his crew actually had a pretty solid game. So when you're looking at, there was 3 different instances that were looked at. By the way, he assured me VAR reviews literally everything, and that is unquote, every single challenge that happens in a game, every offside, every handball, and other challenges in the penalty area, and every goal. He's confirmed and reconfirmed that with his folks that he knows in the VAR. So everything's being reviewed. We just don't know about it in the stadium, or don't even know about it when we're watching on the screen. So going back to the situations here is, I think contextually we feel very hard done, especially when you look back at the Sporting KC game. I just feel like when you have these controversial calls, we're usually on the wrong side of them recently. So the ones last night, there was the one that was called, and that was in the 14th minute. I think Markinick that had drawn that one. And I asked George about that one specifically. He said they were correct to overturn it. He said the body, the placement of the hand was not making that opponent bigger or that defender bigger, and actually found that it was in a natural position and not anything intentional that they could actually look at and back up his call, his original call. Because when you call it on the field, the only way you can turn it over is by going back to the booth, or the booth calling down to you, say that was a clear and obvious mistake that you made. So they must have told the referee to go check it out because they were unsure about his call. And he went back. And usually when you go to the booth, you do end up overturning it. It's not always a guarantee. But they went to the booth last night. We all saw it, and we all saw them overturn it. I actually, looking back on it a couple times, it's a bang, bang, bang play, like a pinball thing. I think that'd have been, if that was us, we'd be pretty pissed that got called. Pretty unfortunate. And to be honest, the 39th minute, Indy was flagging for one. That was tough. The arms were in a pretty natural position on that one. And the final one was difficult to look at too. But the 66th minute, the George also said this one was, he's not making himself bigger. His hands are in a natural position. So all in all, whether it's intentional or unintentional, making yourself bigger is always a big vote of contention. Are they doing that? If so, they're more likely to be called a handball. If they're trying to get out of the way, or they're using their hand as stability, like on the ground, on like a sliding challenge, that's where it gets a little bit controversial as well. So all that to say, we're going to have more about this coming up here shortly. I think we all have an opportunity to learn a little bit more because, it was super frustrating last night. I think part of it's just we don't know what they're talking about versus not talking about. We just don't know, especially in the stadium. And it does feel like we've kind of been on the wrong side of that traditionally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just to round all of that out, as you said, I mean, these guys are doing the best they can. And also, if VAR is looking at everything, that should put everything to rest, where everybody is saying that the one in the 66 should have been looked at by VAR. It's looked at by VAR, and then they're in the main ref's ear if he should go look at it and think that he missed a call. So they are reviewing all of this, and we will get into more specifics when we have George on as well. Happier thoughts. We clinched a playoff spot. We've talked about that. I mean, you and I have been talking about it. We've had it locked up now. Mathematically, we have it locked up, at least a playoff spot. I'm still very convinced, and we'll talk about magic number here in a little bit, but that we are pretty much locked up for home field as well if we get even a point. So we're the third expansion team to net 50 points in a playoff berth in the first season. Could this be the best expansion team in MLS history? We need 8 points in the final 4 matches to beat LAFC's record of 57 points in 2018. Jake, quick prediction. Do you think we can do it?
Do I think we can do it? Yes. Do I think we will do it? No.
I don't think we need, and I don't think we need the gun for that either, because I don't want to burn ourselves trying to go for it. I mean, I'm very content. I think we should I think our goal should be 54 points. Give me 4 points in the last 4 games. Give me a win and a tie.
Dude, I worry about, and we're going to talk about it, our form. Look at the last 6 games. We've only won 1. So it's been quiet because we've been on the away form. We've been playing some decent teams, but we've got to start winning and getting into a better groove of getting results, coming up here shortly. So that's why I would like to win 2 of these next games for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that should be an expectation. We can't limp into the playoffs because of all of our winning ways in the very beginning. I want to come in there firing and ready to go.
I agree.
So I agree. And the magic number thing, I think, kind of spoiled it for us because we always kind of knew where we were. And that's why using max points is stupid, because it's the mathematics is what's possible versus what's likely. And that's what we were doing with magic numbers. So we've known for a while that we were going to get here. But big picture for me, I mentioned at the very beginning, the defending 2022 MLS Cup champions came to our house, respected our house. They took their shoes off at the door and they said, okay, we're going to play a little bit in our shell, which they did. And we're going to let you guys, see what you can do against us. And because they have a decent back line. A lot of the players for them said it felt like a final atmosphere, which is, a heck of a way to describe City Park and this team. And you look at the wages between these two teams, very different stories. LAFC spends $15 million a year on their payroll. We spend 9, just under 10. So look at this macro level. What a win for this team to be drawing LAFC at City Park and having them come in and respect the hell out of us. That says a lot about this season. And I don't think we rest our laurels on that, but I do want everyone to get that big picture. This is a nice, very, very cool night for St. Louis, We said it could be a statement win of the season. I think it's still a statement for the season of what just happened there. But, obviously you would have liked the win.
I think there's nothing else you really need to say there. The only thing I want to do is now hop into these player ratings because I'm excited to start with Mr. Roman Berkey. Give me an A+. I don't think, with his feet, how quick he was off the line, the saves that he made, he saved everything he should. The one that was off the post, I don't think he could have got there. That was a wicked shot, just going low and away, curling in. So A+ for him, and I'll bring it straight to the back line as well. I'll go A across the back line with an A+ for the two boys in the middle. I just think as a whole, I think Watts and Markinick did enough. And obviously not letting up a goal, it's a minimum of an A. Watts and Markinick, if an A+ is 97, those guys were a 96. So they're right up there. I just think that Tim Parker and Nilsson laid his body on the line multiple times. That man has to be concussed with the amount of times that he won head balls, knocked to the ground and just getting into it. And Parker just getting animated and just knocking these Bouanga. When Bouanga ripped a shot, he just knocked him down and turned around and flexed to the crowd. It's yeah, that's what we need in this atmosphere. It was a playoff game.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not even going to add to that because I think that's 100% right for me. That's the first time I think we can really say that most recently our back line was the star of the show with Berkey as well. Midfield wise, not as great of a night. I would say we couldn't find Leuven a lot in the times that we did. I think he was good, but it was a matter of finding him. And I feel like Blum was in the wrong position with being the only guy in our midfield to help connect play last night. Not to say he had a bad night. It looked like he was dealing with something though. It looks like he got kicked. He blocked a big shot, like one that you hear like a loud thump on, and he was never the same after that. But he did come back out at halftime and played another 13 or so minutes before getting pulled. I hope he is okay. Not Aziel Jackson's night last night. Could not find the ball much at all. And maybe that was the way we were playing, maybe not. But he was drowned out a little bit by the performances last night. So for Blum and Jackson, I might go into like a B- range for them because they both did fine. They didn't kill the team. They didn't really help us ton either. I will end this with Indy Vasilev. I thought actually he had a pretty decent night. He was almost, I think did he go the full? He went 88 minutes, almost a full 90 from him after not playing 90 for a long time. He's just such a switchblade. He's got such an engine on him. And I do really, really think that we are a better team with him on the pitch. So it's just a matter of finding that right combination to slot him in. If that's wide, if that's centrally, I don't care. I just do think that he brings a lot of value to this team.
I agree with that. I would say Blum defensively was pretty solid. I don't think he was able to get the ball off his foot quick enough. AZ, it was too congested in the middle for him to really have that creativity. And I feel like when he did get the ball, he couldn't get it back in a timely fashion, except for the Markinick one we talked about. Leuven, I thought, had great services, and Indy, I thought, did well as well. So as we look at Sam and Dinneran and Klaus, I'll give a Dinneran a B, and I'm going to give Klaus a B-. The only reason I'm giving a Dinneran a B is because we did have a couple highlights. That man just using his sheer speed and size to get by guys. I feel like Klaus didn't, I think we talked about it. I don't think he touched the ball the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game. Yep. He couldn't find it either. So both of them need to do better to hold the ball up. Also maybe create a little bit more chances there. I can't remember a nice, easy, besides the Dinneran shot when he's falling over or the Klaus volley, didn't have a lot of good shots either. So I think we relied on some long-range Leuven shots a little bit too much there. But it was just a weird congested game. So I wonder if it's a formation thing or we'll figure it out this week. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, and the subs, I'm just going to say, didn't really have much impact in a negative or positive way last night. Very neutral positions, didn't make much of a tangible impact whatsoever. Quick thing before we go back to our predictions review and get out of here. Justin, we did the giveaway yesterday. Thank you all for your responses. Holy crap, there was a ton to sift through, but not one of you predicted that no one would score, which has happened now at least twice in these giveaways. So we're going to put this prompt, go ahead and just put it on hold for the rest of the year for City. Maybe next time, Justin, we'll just do it for the opposition, and we predict an opposition goal scorer, and then they won't score, and that'd be perfect.
Oh, yes. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, a little reverse. Little reverse.
I was about to say we're not messing with this coming down to the final stretch in playoffs. No. We will be doing giveaways, but we will not be doing whoever scores a goal giveaway.
So we are going to do. We're going to pedal this one to Minnesota. So when we do our preview for Minnesota, we will talk about what the giveaway challenge is for that. But before we round out here, Justin, predictions and bets. It was not a great night for the ball watching boys. I predicted 2-1 dub and bet a first half money line City team total. I rode with you over 1.5. No dice there. And then for you, 3-2 dub and team total over 1.5. No dice. Justin, we've got to get back on track here.
Yeah, that was disgusting. I already looked at the lines for Minnesota, though. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Justin, I have some stuff here about where we go from here. I might just pull that into Minnesota and we can go on from there. But talk us through magic number really quick before we sign off.
Oh yeah, my favorite time of the show. All right, let me share my screen. So, and we already talked about this, that our magic number, let's just preface this again, that our magic number is based on points per match and what teams have done thus far. So we currently have 50 points. We have 4 games remaining. To clinch a home field advantage in round 1 to bypass the wild card, still 1 point based on how everybody else did last night in the table. There's a lot of ties in there and not a lot of huge wins. Seattle did jump LAFC, so that's why that's still holding up there a little bit. We already have pretty much clinched round 1 without home field, which would be the 7th place. We have -3 points there, and then the magic number for the wild card is -5 points. That's why I don't really like this whole week. Like mathematically, yes, we did clinch. I know that the club doesn't want to celebrate until that is for sure locked up, but there is no way that we would get the 8th or 9th spot with 50 points. So looking at that, who do we have coming up? This was actually fun to update, Jake, because we have Minnesota next. They are now 10th in the West with 37 points, 9-10-10 record, no longer in a playoff spot. Sporting, 930. They are 11th in the West, no longer in a playoff spot. And that happened both last night when they both lost. And then Vancouver on 10-4. They are now 5th in the West. They got jumped by Houston. So they are in a playoff spot. But I will say, even though these next 2 games are technically not in a playoff spot, it is a very, very tight race. So it's not going to be like these guys are completely out of it and they're going to roll over, especially Sporting. You know that's going to be a big one coming home.
Yeah. And I'll say, too, the final thing we'll leave you with is so our current points per match is 1.67 right now, which is great. And if we run that for the rest of the season as a scenario with these last 4 games, we will get another 7 points, which would put us at 57, which would tie us for the expansion record. So let's see if the boys can outdo that and claim this one. I think that would be a really neat way to round out this season and head into the playoffs on some firing form. 7 points in those 4 games, I think, should be a goal. I think that should be a goal. I think 2 wins and getting a draw, I think, would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think the Sporting KC game at home's got to be a dub. Minnesota away, if we can get a dub right there and turn that, so that'd be 2 quick 6s right there. Yep. And then just need to get a tie between a home game at Seattle to end the season, which if you've looked at the ticket prices, that is going to be a packed crowd, knowing how expensive the playoffs will be. And then Vancouver away, we can definitely get there. I think that's going to be a tough one with them being 5th in the West. But I agree, 7 points. Good goal for the last 4 games.
There we go. And we'll be back with you all probably on Friday to do a little bit of a preview for Vancouver. My mind was already going there, but Minnesota, not that far north. We're going to Minnesota for this one. Should be quite a fixture, looking to get 3 points, probably on a pretty rotated squad if I had to guess. But that makes sense considering how balls the wally went last night. So honestly, good night for the club. Good night to clinch. Well deserved. What a season it's been so far. But let's keep pushing, and we'll talk to you all here soon. All for City.
All for City.